So thank you very much for joining our Feeling the Pulse, actually the last one of the year of 2024. And it's a celebratory session because actually we're here to celebrate our GDS-Movement Innovation Award finalists. And a big thank you for the finalists to join us for the session. And I'm sure a lot of people are really curious about the projects that you've done over the year and how you ended up on the award stage. So my name is Bella. I'm not going to burden you with my last name. It's quite difficult to pronounce, so we will keep it to first names today. I'm a relationship manager, change maker, and many other hats that I wear, normally for Europe, Middle East, and Africa region within the GDS movement world. And today's agenda is mainly about celebrating our Innovation Award finalists, and we have Oslo, Victoria, Toronto, Copenhagen, and Vancouver. So we will hear the projects from each of the finalists, and before diving into that, just a reminder about the housekeeping. The session is recorded, and we will make sure to send the recording of the session after together with the slides, so you can watch it again or you can share it with your colleagues. Please feel free to use the chat box just like you did before to ask questions, or in case your mood went to 10, also feel free to share that meanwhile. Raise your hand or signal the moderator, in this case myself, to speak. And as I said, feel free to use reactions on Zoom because I think they're growing like mushrooms every day. I see more reactions there. And before giving the floor to our lovely finalists, let's just do a quick recap of the GDS Movement Innovation Award. So the idea of the award is to actually recognize and showcase a single destination using innovative solutions to drive sustainability performance. And so what do our finalists have in common? So first of all, of course, they are part of the GDS Index 2024. They all developed an innovative program or initiative promoting sustainability and regeneration, and they have also demonstrated measurable results of the initiative. As we say, there's no progress without measurement. So what are the X factors that we are looking for in the award? Obviously, this is an innovation award, so first of all, we are looking into how bold and creative the idea is. We're looking into the innovative element of the project, of the initiative. Then, of course, if the project can be measurable, if the impact of the project is measurable, and if so, how. We are also looking at the storytelling strategy because the idea might be amazing, but if there's no narrative, the reach will not be so big. And also we're looking if the initiative can be replicated somewhere else, because as you know, our vision is to foster collaboration among the destinations around the world. So this is the moment where I would like to thank our esteemed judges. So we have, but before I say the thank yous, I would just like to remind you that we have an internal judgment process where we see if the applications, they meet the basic eligibility criteria, and then they go to the external judges. And so big thanks to Dermot from ICA, Flavie from CTDNA, James from North Star Meetings Group, Roger from IMEX Group, and Shelby from Washington, D.C. And Shelby, Washington, D.C. was actually the winner of the GDS Movement Innovation Award 2023. And so we always make sure to involve a representative of the winning destination in the following year's evaluation process. So thanks a lot to our judges for putting the effort and the dedication. And so here we have the finalists, and just again to remind you that the GDS Index Award was held at the end of the GDS Forum, which took place in a beautiful theater in Bruges on October 16th. And so we announced the finalists there. And so the finalists, as I said, we have Copenhagen with the CopenPay initiative, Oslo with Winter Destination Network, the coolest place on earth, but I will let them explain you more about that. We have Toronto with Relax, Recharge, Renew initiative, Vancouver with social procurement for tourism, hospitality, and events, and Destination Greater Victoria with affordable housing project for hotel and hospitality employees. So congratulations to all of the finalists. And now it is my pleasure to give the floor to Oslo. I will stop sharing here, and Irja and Thomas, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's see if we can open our slides.
Yes.
Yes, so just full mode here. Yeah, can you see? You can see my slides?
Yes, we can see that.
Great. I just noticed it's been switching a little bit forward here, so this is the beginning. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Irja. This is Thomas, and we're representing Visit Oslo. And we're, as you said, here to talk about our winter destination network. So Oslo is the capital of Norway, and it's situated between the ocean and the mountains. And over the last few years, the city has experienced a rapid evolution in culture, food, and the architectural scene. And our mountains offer actually one of the biggest cross-country networks in the world. And we also have alpine skiing, we have ice skating, we have sledding, we have Christmas markets, and a rich winter heritage. And our ocean offers over 30 floating saunas. And we have fjord sightseeing in the archipelago and winter kayaking along the waterfront. And in addition, we have a lot of new and famous music and art attractions like the Monk Museum and the Opera House. So we have a lot to offer during the winter. So here's a picture of someone diving just outside the city center. This is just a picture from a place called Barcode, which is also in the city center. There's someone sledding. You can go by subway 20 minutes outside the city center and then sled for 3 kilometers and then just take the subway up again so you don't have to walk, which is really tiring. And here you can ice skate outside our national library, and you see our opera house in the background. And here are some of our saunas. So this unique combination is one of Oslo's key assets and something we want to be able to communicate to a bigger extent over the course of the upcoming years.
So here in Oslo, we face more or less the same challenges as many other tourist destinations. We have a significant seasonal variation, unfortunately. As visitor numbers surge during certain times of the year, we experience underuse in winter seasons. It's leading to problems in sustainability and job security, as you all know. Seasonal work often means unstable conditions for employees, and infrastructure is strained during peak times while being underutilized in our winter months. Here, people in Norway and Oslo, we love winter activities, and it's really a big part of our natural identity. So what we do is we build our winter experiences that already exist along inhabitants and are very popular. We enhancing and tailoring them to meet the expectations of international visitors. So to say, we simply invite the world to take part of our everyday life.
And as you can see on this graph, we have our peak season is in the summertime. But with the help of this winter destination network that we have created, we want to even out these seasonal variations. And to do so, we need to present ourselves as a unique winter destination by sharing engaging stories about winter experiences combined with city activities. For example, going on a ski trip in the morning and then going to a concert in the afternoon. That's something that is common for Osloensers. I don't know if we're called that, but yes, to do, but it's exotic for visitors. So by 2030, we aim to increase our industry revenue by 500 million Norwegian kroners in the seasons, the shoulder seasons, as you can see on blue here. And this winter destination network brings together over 20 stakeholders from various sectors, including hotel, museum, experiences, and transport. And also Innovation Norway, which is owned by the government, invest in our network, making it a private-public partnership. And all the stakeholders that are involved, they commit to investing both the necessary time and the necessary money, all up until 2030, for us to together be able to reach our goal.
So how do we do this? That's a good question. To reach our goal of 500 million Norwegian crowns in increased revenue, we have a holistic perspective on the destination management and development, where, as you see the model here, accessibility, demand, and supply has to be in balance. And with accessibility, we means both physical to come to Oslo, accessibility within Oslo, and also accessibility with the activities, outdoor activities with trails and signs and so on. And we also think it's important to also offer the accessibility to our winter activities digitally. And supply in forms of having an attractive and diverse winter offering, both in the city and the surrounding mountains, and make this together. And in demands in terms of attracting both the leisure tourists, international winter events, and conferences to the city.
And as you can see on this slide, our stakeholders consist of actors on every stage of the customer journey. So we have partners that represent arriving either via land or actually water or air, represented with Avinor here, which is the owners of all the airports in Norway. Thank you. And Color Line, which is a cruise company that run between Oslo and Germany and Oslo and Denmark. And then we also have the hotels, and we also have public transport company, and Us in Visit Oslo, which help people figure out what to do when they arrive. And we also have different activities in museums. Yes.
And this shows us how the implementation part of the strategy works and how...
Did it go down for you also? Yeah.
So maybe we stop and find the way back.
Where is my mouse?
We can see the first slide again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that happened
so
just there. It is. I don't
there
know
it
what
is.
happened. Okay, sorry.
So this is the implementation part of the strategy and how we work with different areas of the strategy and how we build certain target goals along the way to 2030 and how we're constantly analyzing our activities and adjusting the course to achieve the goal up to 2030, where we want to be the coolest place on earth and increase the revenue. So the way we say in Norwegian, the road is made as we walk. So the first year we have completed a lot of activities, as you can see. So we have arranged the World Cup in Nordic skiing for cross-country skiing and ski jumping with around 100,000 audience. We have done self-esteem rising activities with the tourists in your own city, where around 30,000 tourists get free access to experience winter activities. So everyone feels that they are really in a winter city. We have also started implementation of a bundling system that allow all tourist providers to sell each other and also sell multiple activities in one operation.
Yes. And we have started working on a brand concept, which you talked about earlier, called this the coolest place on earth. where we highlight the combination of the pure and cold Nordic climate with our cool attractions and museums and culture. So yeah, so here's a mood board with we have some YouTube videos on it, and we have like a tone of voice and some marketing like poster examples.
So the coolest place on earth actually helps us both in the branding and also to reach the goal in the destination development. So to highlight the innovative aspects of our project is that we simply invite the world to take part in our everyday life by enhancing and tailoring the winter experiences we have. And we do this together with our small and large stakeholders who work together with us to make Oslo a more attractive destination all around the year, and especially during winter time. Our stakeholders, they contribute the necessary time and resources to really achieve our common goals. So together we're focusing on developing and improving existing offers, and we provide incentives to solve existing challenges within the city, like improving public transport during winter times, clearer trail marks, and so on. So our goal is to even out the seasonal variation and raise the value in the industry by 500 million Norwegian crowns until 2030.
Yeah.
So that is our presentation. So thank you very much for the time, and we look forward to answer questions if there are something, and we really look forward to learn more about other final projects.
Thank you very much, Irja and Thomas. I thought you were saying I look forward to seeing you all in Oslo.
Yes, of course. Everyone is welcome anytime, but especially in the shoulder season.
Definitely. Thank you so much. This was definitely one of the greatest examples of the branding, the coolest place on earth, and it's something that gets stuck with you. And yeah, I mean, I think your last slide was also very simple. This is what we do. We just share what we do every day with the rest of the world. This is our objective. This is where we want to get, and this also fosters obviously the sustainable development of the city. So I think that put it in a nice framework. And well, I feel like we could just dedicate one Feeling the Pulse per finalist, but unfortunately our time is limited. I would like to open the floor. Thanks, Milda, for encouraging people to share their questions in the chat. So if you have any questions, please either write them in the chat or just raise your hand. Otherwise, I will ask a question. I have few questions. I don't know where to start from, but I think I will get started with the since you have the winter destination network, how long did it take you to actually create the network and get everyone on board? Because you said collaboration is the key, and it definitely is. So was it difficult, the process, and were also residents, were they engaged in the process?
It has actually taken more than 2 years of producing the strategy together with the stakeholders. So we started in 2022 with a strategy process that ended up with a strategy. And then after that, we have started implementation of this strategy. And that is what we are working together in this network, and we have like 6 different groups that are taking care of different parts of it. So one is more on analysis, one is working with arrangements, and so on. We also taking part. We also work with inhabitants along this. As you can, how to say. Test your own tourist in your own city.
Yeah.
Yes, because
So
you're
that's
actually sharing the everyday life of the residents. So
yeah.
I asked, but yeah, 2 years, it's a long time, but at the same time, we know how long these collaborative projects take. So that's why I was curious. And actually, the interesting thing was about the psychological accessibility, which is an interesting term to use. So you had the physical and the psychological one. I don't think I have come across to that term before. So just again, curious how you came up to that.
Yeah, in Norway, a lot of people think that it's in the mountain where we have the winter destinations, and Oslo is among Oslo inhabitants and many Norwegians. It's not the winter destination. It's only the only the capital and the big city. And if you want to go skiing, you do that in the mountains. So that's the thing, that the psychological accessibility to be able to be a winter destination and be really proud of what we have in the capital of Norway is really good, because that's what we're doing in our everyday life, and that's what we can invite the rest of the tourists to really experience also.
Yeah, and also one thing that we do with this, or at least have planned to do, is a lot of at least visitors might be frightened with like the thought of going cross-country skiing because they maybe never tried it and think it would be really scary if you fall and stuff. It's not dangerous, but to help people feel more like capable, we have started making trails that is just like walking trails in the winter. So instead, you don't have to go skiing and be an annoyance for everyone that is skiing. We're like making walking trails, so you have the same experience, but you're on your feet, which is safer for people who haven't tried it before.
And if you haven't tried so much before, maybe it's a little bit hard to reserve 1 week in the mountains if it's not so funny. Here you can escape from the winter activities down to the urban life and have that part of the experiences also. So that's a good mixture.
That's very interesting. And in case you see it's not for you, just go to a nearby museum, I
And
guess.
you can go inside somewhere or swim in the ocean, whatever suits you.
That definitely seems you're speaking to me directly, so thank you. I will consider that.
No problem.
Great. Thank you so much. As I said, our time is limited, so we will pass to our next finalist. But meanwhile, if you have other questions, feel free to write them in the chat, or you can also send it to our email. So next on the lineup is Sarah, one of the Sarahs, because we have 2 Sarahs today, and Sarah from Destination Greater Victoria. Sarah is the Destination Stewardship and Sustainability Specialist. And so Sarah, the floor is yours. Feel free to share your screen.
Do you see my slides?
We see that, oh yeah, perfect. We can
Okay, great. There might be a slight delay. Great, well, thank you for having me. That last presentation was really, really inspiring. I feel like it is also very visually appealing. So this will be a bit of a change because my presentation doesn't look as nice, but still good information. So as Bella said, I'm the Destination Stewardship and Sustainability Specialist at DGV, we call it, in Victoria. And I'm going to be presenting on our affordable housing project that we have here. And here we go. So in terms of our project overview, this housing project is a partnership that was formed between the City of Victoria, Destination Greater Victoria, and the Greater Victoria Housing Society to fund a 40-unit below market purpose built rental project. So this building is going to prioritize housing for hotel and hospitality workers specifically. And the partnership involved contributing $2.5 million in short-term rental vacation MRDT funds to create this building. So a little bit of background. Like many destinations, Victoria has a bit of a housing crisis at the moment. We have a lot of people a lot of people moving here because it's a beautiful place to live, which makes a lot of sense. But rent has been climbing quite quickly for a lot of people here. And short-term rent have been popping up all over the place. So this is kind of a reaction to this crisis that we've been able to try and do through the tourism lens. So a little bit of background. In 2017, some legislation came through from the province of BC, which created, which allowed the municipal and regional district tax, so MRDT, collected for short-term vacation rentals to be allocated towards affordable housing, which was a great step in the right direction and the first of its kind. So an opportunity was created, and it made an opportunity to address the housing crisis directly, and also creating the potential for innovative collaborations through the partnerships to come. So after this happened in 2017, Destination Greater Victoria, the Hotel Association of Greater Victoria, and the City of Victoria all came together to see what we could do with this funding. So through this partnership, the funding of MRDT funds collected for short-term vacation rentals were directed to the Victoria Housing Reserve Fund. So it kind of created an cumulative spot where all of these funds were going to sit, which is another great step in the right direction, but there was an initial gap that we noticed. So the funds were accumulating, but they were sitting unspent as there wasn't actually enough to create a full project for the MRDT funding. And we wanted it to directly help hospitality workers. So in recognition of the housing crisis and the issues that were happening in the city of Victoria, especially particularly for the challenges within the hospitality industry, in 2023, another partnership was created. So from many of these organizations. So we teamed up with the Greater Victoria Housing Society as we saw that they had a project that they were not able to complete because of an equity gap. So it was rendering it financially unviable. But because of this MRDT funding that we had kind of accumulating in this fund, we were able to partner with them directly and say, hey, if we help you, fund the remainder of this project, then maybe you can allocate these units for hospitality employees specifically. So from that, DGV, the City of Victoria, and the Greater Victoria Housing Society, along with the Hotel Association of Greater Victoria, came together and created this partnership that ended up in the result of these 40 units being built. So there was a bit of a collaboration between everybody, and everybody's a winner in this situation. So yes, the MRDT funds for short-term rentals bridged the equity gap, making the project viable. Moving forward, so the key benefits obviously are the 40 below market working housing units. These units are all located in a building that is near the center of downtown and also close to transit, so it's easy to get to workplaces. And another benefit is the quick timeline. So this was approved in September 2023. They've broken ground, I think just this month actually, on construction, and it's slated to be complete by 2026. So to reiterate, it's not all of our MRDT funds that are going into this project. It is specifically those that are coming out of the short-term rental vacations. So part of the issue was so many of these short-term rental vacation properties were popping up. And this was a way for us to address that in a sustainable and direct way. So in terms of broader implications, we also have this project being looked at the regional scale. So in Greater Victoria, we actually have 12 municipalities, which all govern themselves individually, which makes it a little bit challenging. But currently Saanich, our neighboring municipality, is also looking to do something very similar, as they've seen the success from this project, which is great. And yeah, so it's impacting short-term rental legislation as well. We're seeing a lot of since this project has happened, there's been legislation at the provincial level that has restricted short-term rentals in Greater Victoria with some caveats. And so we see that legislation is also being impacted by this as well. And in terms of media and public recognition, this project got picked up quite quickly. We got unanimous approval from our city council, so they were very excited about this project, and we got pretty significant media coverage as well. So we got 25 earned media hits, and that was print, digital, radio, and TV as well. And then in the bottom corner there, that photo that you can see, that's the rendering of the building that's going to be built. So in conclusion, this project just shows the power of collaboration and partnership across government, across industry, and also nonprofits, because we had all three of those types of organizations in this project. And it also showcases the ability for us to leverage our role as a DMO into helping try to solve some of the issues that we're seeing in our economy quite directly. And that's it for me, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Really great presentation and a great initiative. I think the big idea is not that complex. Of course, there's a lot of complexity when it comes to building those partnerships, but I think you're showing how the DMO can actually use the tourism as a force for good. Jack, you have a question, please.
Yeah, it's a really interesting initiative and like such a great way to think about the short-term rental problem that so many people are experiencing. My question is, how are the units allocated and who's responsible for that?
That is a great question. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. My colleague who has just gone on paternity leave would definitely know how to answer that question. He was actually the one that helped organize the project. But I believe that we have a committee, and everybody on that committee kind of talks about these things, but I can definitely find out and I can let you know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jack, for the question. Any other questions from the participants? Yeah, actually, it's quite interesting. And also for now, there were 40 housing units. So then I guess the idea would be to amplify this number going forward.
Yes, so we're starting off with one building, so that's the 40 units. And then I guess as the funding continues to accumulate in this fund, we're gonna see where we can take it in the future. There is a bit of a reduction that's going to be happening because of the new short-term rental legislation that's come out in BC. So not nearly as much is going into that fund anymore. But that isn't to say that there isn't anything going into that fund. There's still quite a few rental units that are legally allowed to be operating. So we're going to be reevaluating and seeing how we can kind of scale this in the future as well.
Great, thank you. And I think it's also a project that can be actually replicable in other places. And you've already mentioned that some other regions are interested in that. But yeah, I think that's also the beauty of the project. And good luck. And we hope to see those 40 turn into 400 and more.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. So from one Sarah, we're moving to the other Sarah. That was done on purpose. So we have Sarah from Toronto, Director of Community Engagement. I see, Sarah, you're already sharing your screen. Thank you. And it's loading slowly but steadily. Perfect. We can see your screen now.
Excellent. Hi, everyone. Yeah, going from one side of the country to almost the other. I promise we have other names in Canada, but certainly a lot of Sarahs here. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for inviting us. And it was an honor, of course, to be considered for this award. So as mentioned, my name is Sarah Jarvis. I'm the Director of Community Engagement at Destination Toronto. We are the DMO for Canada's largest city, and Toronto is also the 4th largest city in North America, which is often an unknown fact, but it is true. I am situated on the traditional territory of Anishinaabeg, the Wendat, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee, as well as the Mississaugas of the Credit Indigenous Nations. I'm going to try and move my slides forward. There we go. So today I'm excited to share with you all some information about Destination Toronto's Relax, Recharge, and Renew program, or RRR as we call it. This is a respite program that shows truly the power of community engagement. And today I'm going to walk you through what it is, how this contributes to tourism equity, and how your community can create something similar if you're interested in. So what is the story? Back in 2008, Destination Toronto's VP of Marketing, Andrew Weir, who's now our CEO, was on the board of a local respite agency that provides care to kids with complex needs. Through his work on the board, he learned that while the respite care services are incredible for the kids, there was this big gap. And that was the parents or the primary caregivers of these children. They had no programs for themselves that catered to their needs and mental health. So let's just back up a sec. What is respite? So didn't speak to that. So respite or respite care is when an unpaid caregiver gets a temporary break from looking after a child or an adult with a disability. So the purpose of this break is for that caregiver who is an unpaid person, typically a parent, to take some me time to accomplish some essential tasks that they can't easily do because they're spending all of their time taking care of their loved one. So the child or the adult with a disability gets cared for at the respite center or by other members of the family. So I want you to just imagine, these parents and caregivers, and maybe some in your network, but on top of their jobs, they're caring for this child 24/7. And this isn't just regular parenting, which already comes with struggles, as some of you know. This child perhaps can't feed themselves or use the bathroom independently and needs support round the clock. Perhaps there's no school program that caters to them. These parents are responsible for full-time care, and they have little time for themselves. They often feel burnt out. They suffer from anxiety, and they are severely under-supported. So back in 2008, we saw an opportunity for Destination Toronto to fill a need by offering these local parents a restorative weekend, a staycation in their own city of Toronto. So the aim of the program is to provide a much needed break, allowing them to, as the program says, relax, recharge, and renew their energy. So how does RRR work? Destination Toronto partners with 3 different respite agencies who then identify the eligible families who would benefit from the initiative. And those agencies then manage the entire intake process. So you can see these are 3 of the ones we're currently working with. The incredible Rena Foundation, Safe Haven, and Community Living Toronto. The children are booked into one of these centers for a weekend, while we then take care of those parents and caregivers and treat them to a weekend stay in Toronto. You can see some of the families that have enjoyed a weekend. So who is allowed to participate at Destination Toronto? We are certainly not experts in this. So we ask our agency partners to actually nominate those families who are already using their services. This gives us the confidence that the participants that receive these weekends are people that could really, really use that break. Sometimes the parents tell us a little bit about what they're going through. Maybe it's that their child has been in and out of hospital their entire life, and many parents have actually never had a vacation in their entire lives. So we've heard some stories about folks, juggling some marriage breakups, which, as you can imagine, the pressures of taking care of this child puts an added weight on couples. And often these parents are just utterly exhausted, and not even necessarily from caregiving, but from constantly having to advocate for the needs of their child, which takes a toll. I just want to share a quote. I'm going to read this. Annie Ewing, who manages our program, is some of you may have encountered Annie in your work. She's a tremendous human being, and unfortunately she wasn't able to present today, otherwise it would have been her. But she shared this quote with me. This came from a parent. "It's so hard to ask for a break from caregiving. There is no off button, and taking a break is so crucial to keep going and to do what caregivers do. But facilitating it and planning it and even managing the cost is just too much. I can't tell you what a gift it was to have nothing to think of, nothing expected of me, and to just show up. The isolation and lack of access," I'm going to get emotional, sorry, "to simple things so many people take for granted takes its toll. We watch the world spin away from us and seem to move on without us, and our identity gets lost in our caregiving. A weekend like this reminds us that it's okay to take some time for ourselves and to put the weight down even for just a few days. And not because we don't love our kids, but because we love them so much. Sorry. We never think to put our needs and wants ahead of theirs." Sorry. I've read that quote before, but just reading it out loud, it just hits. It's
I'm
powerful
sure you're
stuff.
not the only one getting emotional.
So what do participants get? During the Triple R weekend, Destination works with our tourism community and facilitates a weekend in Toronto. That includes round trip transfers from their home to the hotel, typically in a stretch limo, a 2-night hotel stay in Toronto with breakfast. We have gift cards for various restaurants across the city for both lunch and dinner, and tickets to 2 attractions or activities in the city, as well as a public transit pass so that they can get around on the city transit. We rely almost entirely on our community to make these donations to the program. So every year we reach out to our stakeholders to ask for donations. We just sent out our annual ask yesterday. And in line with our Giving Tuesday, that's usually when we kick off the donation campaign. We do put a little bit of budget towards the program in case we don't get quite enough donations, but our community is so generous and outstanding in supporting this initiative. They're very enthusiastic about it, and they're thrilled to make tourism available to a demographic that is typically left out. So this shows some of the donations that we receive this year. So what does Destination Toronto do to facilitate this? What's our role in this? So we, beyond collecting those donations, we have a dedicated program manager, Annie Ewing, who I mentioned, and then we put out the call every year to our staff to ask for volunteers to come forward to then we allocate a staff person to all of the different weekends, and they manage the outreach to the individual who has secured that weekend, they interview them and find out what their interests are, and then they build that itinerary for them to be able to experience the destination through through their interests. And then they take care of sending that package to the hotel. And so when the guest arrives, the entire package is there waiting for them, and they just have to check in and start their weekend. Let's see. So in terms of what is the impact of this program, since it began in 2008, we've seen 600 families that have participated. We did pause during COVID for several years and then resumed it again last year. So it promotes not just a sense of belonging for the caregivers who, as mentioned, they have felt left out for some time. This allows them an opportunity to focus on themselves and their mental health, as mentioned. And it allows them to experience the city's tourism offerings, which some of them have never, ever experienced, even though they live in Toronto. So for our donor businesses, they get to feel like they're really driving social change, and they do very much feel like this is their program just as much as it's ours. We do this collectively and together. And then for our volunteer team, it's a way to connect to something bigger and to see firsthand how their work makes a difference in people's lives. As a DMO, as I'm sure many of you know and experience, we're often removed from the actual tourism experience and the impact. And so this is a way that we can actually, be much more connected to it and see how those experiences really do create transformative experiences for these folks. So how can you replicate this if you're interested in, as tourism professionals? I think we'd all agree and argue that we have the responsibility to create positive change and contribute to the well-being of our communities. I would suggest start by reaching out to a local respite agency in your region and forge that partnership. You can start small. We do, as mentioned, have a team of volunteers who each contribute a couple hours a month. And we provide about 40 weekend staycations throughout the year. We avoid those sort of high priced weekends, activities, things that happen in our destination where the rates kind of skyrocket. So we tend to avoid those ones. But yeah, so total, there's about 40 weekends a year that we focus on. So you could just start with one a month, one per quarter. You don't have to necessarily program the whole year, certainly. We didn't start in that level, we grew to that. And you don't even have to provide a whole weekend. It can be one night, it can be just daytime activities, just something where they have an opportunity to unplug and take a break. I think, certainly in the Scandinavian countries, there's so many amazing things you could do to relax there. I'm looking to book my trip right now. Really just, the other piece, there could be things that already exist in your destination that offer similar services. So obviously, step one would be just to check and see whether or not there are other programs in place, and then you can introduce access to the tourism businesses to those programs that are already in play. So that's the end of my presentation. I turn it back if there's any questions. Happy to answer them.
Thank you, Sarah. I think this is not just innovative project, but it's definitely the most emotional one I've come across too. And it was just very beautiful to also read, to hear those words coming from the people, and it's just incredible how normal these activities can be for most of us, and you're giving them a dream, you're giving them a hope, actually, and also turning the city for them to experience it, because then of course, as a DMO, you're mainly attracting visitors with the economic benefit, but then just turning those tourism businesses to those people is just incredible. And I'm sure many people here, or afterwards watching the recording will be full of tears.
I'm so glad that's captured forever. I will add that typically we do encourage the parents to have the break, or the primary caregiver. There are instances where families have multiple children, and those other children are often not ignored, but don't have the same kind of time that their parents can afford them. So there are cases where they do actually bring their other kids on these weekends, because then the kids get to bond with their parent as well. And sometimes the kids are carrying the load as a caregiver too. So it's not just adults only. We do have instances where there's families that participate.
Wow, amazing. And what I don't know if there are questions. I think just people are telling their heartfelt emotions, what they felt. But what were the lessons actually that you've learned along the way?
Some good lessons, I think, that one is not everyone has the ability to put down a deposit on a hotel. There are many of these individuals that have never actually stayed in a hotel, and they don't know and understand the protocol of staying in a hotel. So that was a big eye-opener for us. As well, partnering directly with those respite centers was something that we learned along the way. We were doing it with a broader network, and oftentimes we would have individuals that weren't folks that probably could and should receive these weekends over others. There was a lottery that was done in place, and so you had experiences where folks were, had the means and the ability to do this on a regular basis on their own. So we shifted away from that lottery system and made it a nominating system with those respite agencies instead. So that has helped a lot to ensure that the folks that are the most in need are receiving these opportunities. So those are two learnings.
Thank you, Sarah, for the presentation and for also sharing the lessons along the way. Perhaps you'll receive questions afterwards through us. It might also be. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Rikke, Director of Communications, Marketing and Behavior at Wonderful Copenhagen, and actually the winner of the GDS-Movement Innovation Award. So Rikke, over to you.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me. I put my headset on, loud and clear. I'm through. Good. I'll share my screen with you, and also the sound important so you can see. So I'm going to talk about CopenPay and how you can use tourism as a force for positive change. This summer we did a pilot project. We ran it for 4 weeks, so from the middle of July to the middle of August, where tourists and locals were being invited to make climate-friendly actions, and for that they were given a reward, Copenhagen attractions. And I'll just tell you a little bit about why we did it and how the concept worked, and also the results. I'll show that to you through a video, and also our thoughts on next year on CopenPay version 2.0. First of all, why did we do it? Why did we come up with the idea? We just launched a new strategy that's called Copenhagen All Inclusive, and that's a strategy that actually covers both the really positive aspects of tourism, which I think in the industry always have looked a lot on, but not so much on perhaps the negative aspects of tourism. And in our new strategy, we're looking at it all, both the positive and the negative aspects. Our vision is therefore that tourism should make the world a better destination. As part of the strategy, we have 3 goals, and the first one is that tourism in Copenhagen should accelerate the green transition locally and globally. And one of the sub-goals is that we want to inspire the guests that come to Copenhagen to make more noticeable and lasting sustainable choices. So this is sort of the background for why at all working with this. And again, I think it's very important as well to know a little bit about the figures.
But if we look at tourism, it actually accounts for 8% of the world's CO2 emissions. So yes, you heard me right, 8% of the CO2 emissions. So that's a lot. And on the other hand, when you look at the figures on international arrivals, it's being predicted that the numbers will grow from 1.4 billion in 2019 till 1.8 billion in 2030. So what we will see is actually more people traveling, and also with a high number of CO2 emissions. Of course, we need to do something. One of the things we came across when we did CopenPay was a survey by Kantar that said that 4 out of 5, they actually say they want to act sustainable, which is of course a good thing. They have a good intent, but in reality, when you looked at the number, only 1 changed behavior. So that was the gap we wanted sort of to bridge or reduce that gap, have more people do sustainable actions, not only saying it, but actually doing something about it. So the aim with CopenPay was, on the one hand, inspire to greener mindset and behavior among travelers. And CopenPay was only for guests on the destinations. So encouraging the guests on the destination to do sustainable action. So we didn't include the travel, which is of course one of the big CO2 footprints, or emissions that comes with that. But we started out with, when you are on the destination, what can you then do? And on the other hand, we wanted to raise awareness of Copenhagen as a sustainable destination. Imagine again, when we have guests coming to Copenhagen and they buy, for instance, the Little Mermaid, a little small figure, instead that they would actually take a souvenir, a sustainable action with them home. They would start biking instead of buying things. So that was sort of the idea as well. The concept, in short, as you can see just in the right corner, this was the marketing, or the invitation we had around in the city, where we said, "Dear tourists, enjoy Copenhagen attractions through climate-friendly actions," and you will see more as I go along. And what we did, in very simply, was we actually turned sustainability into a currency that we call CopenPay. And on the left hand, we had all the sustainable actions we invited people to take part in. Could be traveling, urban gardening, recycling, or litter picking as examples. And when they took part in that, they were being rewarded. Some of the awards could be a free kayak tour, free lunches, drinks, breakfast, etc., extra ski time. Here you can see some of the variety we had. So we both had people going on a boat. We had plucking, that's where you go into a park and you pick up litter. We had kayak, we had so many different things. We had 26 partners who were part of CopenPay, and more wanted to join. And of course, if you don't have partners who are part of this program, then you don't have a CopenPay. We aimed for 20. We got the idea in May last year, in the middle of May, and we launched early July with a press release. So we were really in a hurry and busy. So we aimed at 20 and we reached 26, and even more wanted to join as we came along. But as the time was limited at that time, we said no to some as well. CopenPay was for all, so it was both for visitors or tourists, but it was also for residents. So if locals or Danes wanted to join, they were absolutely welcome to join. We had a landing page as a communication platform where the list of attractions were being showed, and for each of the attractions you would see, if you do this for this attraction, then you will be rewarded with that. And there was also sign up, because for some of the attractions, people needed to sign up. There were time slots. And then finally, it was a trust-based initiative, which was a really simple concept. We wanted it to be simple to use, so they didn't have to do a lot of things. At some of the attractions, they had to show, for instance, a picture of a bike, or the bike they've been riding, or a train ticket. But in others, nothing. They didn't have to show a proof, because our society in Denmark is trust-based. So that made sense for us to do it in that way. moving on. My computer's moving. Here you can see sort of the whole campaign flow, so to speak. So we launched with a press release at the beginning of July, fingers crossed at that time, because it was a pilot project. We'd never done anything like that before, or knew anyone who had done it. The media loved the idea, which was good. So it was quickly being caught up by the media. And then when you arrived in the airport as well, people were being welcomed by CopenPay. There's a metro station as well in the airport where people again was being invited. We also had paid SoMe ads and influencer content, which was also important to sort of spread the word of CopenPay internationally. And then in the city, we had the notching part. So we had outdoor billboards, we had billboards on buses as well, and on rental bikes, etc. And then we had the landing page, as I mentioned, and there you could also see a map of the attractions that were being part of it. And then if you did an action, you were being rewarded for it. So quite simple. Here you can see out in the streets of Copenhagen how it looked like. And again, it was also extremely important for us to make the messaging really simple. And now I'll just show you the results. This is a video of 3 minutes going through our summer. It was quite busy, I can tell you. And then I hope the sound works.
Tourism should make the world a better destination. And we want to inspire to a greener mindset and behavior amongst travelers. But while 82% of tourists want to act more sustainably, only 22% have changed behavior. To bridge the gap, we turn sustainability into a currency. CopenPay. Copenhagen attractions reward climate-friendly actions. For instance, sustainable actions can unlock a rental bike. A bike ride can pay for ski time. Urban gardening for a free vegetarian lunch. Or collect trash to get the kayak tour for free. 26 attractions made CopenPay a citywide scheme based on trust and voluntourism.
Well, if you're heading to Denmark's capital, Copenhagen, these are some of the activities on offer, but only if they take part in environmentally friendly tasks.
A new scheme known as CopenPay. 4,859 news stories. A trust-based system.
Pick up trash, get a free drink.
Con un peculiar sistema que premia el turismo responsable.
So many people talk about Copenhagen now.
111 million in earned media.
CopenPay
will offset some of the pollution caused by tourism.
CopenPay became the biggest tourism news story in the world.
Copenhagen's carrot rather than stick approach stands in stark contrast to other European cities fed up with mass tourism.
Oh, sorry. I'll move on, sorry.
76,000 users.
Can you still see my screen?
Yes, just click play and we will continue.
Yeah, I'll click for it. Bugger. I'll move it forward. I know more or less where we were. So sorry.
It's okay.
There we are.
66,000 users visited CopenPay through our website.
We made the choice, like today, we rode bikes instead of renting a car. The reason I relied on CopenPay so much was because of the environmental angle and the fact that it encouraged me to make good choices and gave me the option to easily make good choices consistently. But I think people in general definitely get another perspective on how to maybe get to work by bike instead of car or by a train or something. So I think it opens their eyes, definitely.
Mit den Handschuhen, finde ich, geht's eigentlich.
Picking up rubbish, it's actually kind of a fun, it's like an adventure. It's like, oh look, I found some more, and it was a fun thing to do.
Rewarding their green deeds, such as getting around by foot or by bike.
The attractions gained more visitors. All interviewed tourists felt great about doing good, and 98% would recommend CopenPay to others.
It's like tiny steps will like do a lot if all of us just like do a little bit.
The model proved so successful, it's already spreading.
Yeah, so that was a video that sort of sums it all up. And then again, if we look at the impact part, that was not the most important part of it, because we just wanted to see if a nudging initiative could actually make a change, and it could. But here you can see some of the numbers. So we had an increase in biking, and we also had an increase in collected trash. As for next year, we've done a lot of evaluation and looking at what did we do good, what would we do differently, etc. But of course, this initiative, it became a success. So check, it was a proof of concept, it works. Next year we will make it more ambitious. We will have more partners as being part of it. Our goal is, our aim is to get 50 partners and not 26. And we will also focus more on the impact part. And also we will be doing it for a longer period of time. We talk perhaps 2 months over summer season, where we have the most of our tourists, of course. Yeah, that was it.
Thank you so much, Rikke. This is yeah, very simple, I would say, but a very mighty initiative, and everyone wants to know about CopenPay, and so I'm sure a lot of people will get in touch. Yeah, it's I think you also, of course, you played with the wording CopenPay. I think that part was very well thought, and I think the amount of media coverage you received was probably way over of what was expected, as it was just a pilot project for this year. So yeah, just congratulations once again.
Thank you.
We have time just for one question, if there is any from the audience. There is one thing that I've seen in the presentation that was also quite interesting. First of all, I mean, the whole project is very interesting, that you are rewarding the tourists, the visitors, to opt for sustainable choices rather than punishing them. And we see that this works. So I think this is the most valuable part, the nudging. So that was interesting. But then this turning sustainability into a currency, I think that's also kind of interesting. And I think this is something, have you thought of creating cross-country or cross-destination collaboration on this? Because it could also be that the visitors collect points starting from Copenhagen, and then they go to the different destination, and then how they're able to exchange those.
Yeah, for sure it could be. Definitely, it could also be in Denmark, just the country in itself. Exactly. And also we have had destinations. Yeah, we've been talking to many destinations that wanted to learn more about it. So we've been talking to people from Korea, Japan, I don't know, Switzerland, everywhere in the world, I would more or less say. And some have also showed interest and wanted to reach out. Of course, you can do it. I just think one of the things I'm a little bit, you can copy some of the concept, but when you go from country to country, I'm not sure the trust part would work in Germany, for instance, because it was also made or adapted into the culture, the way we live in Denmark. So I think you can adopt some of it, but I also think it's really, yeah, you can copy it, but I also think it's really important to adopt it to the country you're in. So that might be, if you would make collaboration, you would have to sort of rethink the concept, because it should be a global concept that should fit all kinds of cultures in a way. So
definitely, I think the cultural context, the trust part, for example, would not work in most of the places. So, but with some adaptation, perhaps there could be amplified.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Rikke. And we have our last guest, who is not with us, unfortunately, live, but we're very lucky to have the recording. And so the last but not least, we have Destination Vancouver, and Gwendal, the Sustainable Destination Development Manager, has sent us the video explaining more about the social procurement for tourism, hospitality, and events. And so I will share.
Good day, everyone. My name is Gwendal Castellan, and I'm the Manager of Sustainable Destination Development at Destination Vancouver. I'm sorry to not be able to be with you in real time today, to be part of the discussion that follows the presentations. I am, however, pleased to be able to share the journey we've been on at Destination Vancouver to champion social procurement as a transformative pathway for tourism, hospitality, and events in our destination. I say transformative because since 2021, Destination Vancouver has, as part of a mandate and purpose review, defined a purpose: to transform our communities and our visitors through the power of travel. I hope you'll see how we feel our purpose lives in this work. First, let me start by acknowledging that I'm coming to you as a settler on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh, who are and have been stewarding these lands since time immemorial. I continue to learn and find connections through ways of being and doing that inspire me, such as everything being connected and the reciprocity in all relationships. Hopefully this shows up in this presentation. Let's start with some context. Vancouver is a city with a globally recognized, enviable standard of living for most residents. However, within the borders of the city also exist some of the most poorest postal codes in the country, where the social determinants of health and well-being are most challenging, with overrepresentation of diverse populations such as urban, Indigenous people, and others. The neighborhood called the Downtown East Side is adjacent to our downtown, and other neighborhoods such as Gastown and Chinatown are also connected to it, which have tourism businesses and attractions. And when things like poverty, homelessness, and public drug use intersect with tourism, it creates a cognitive dissonance for visitors and our residents who are experiencing our city. How might Destination Vancouver leverage its role as a non-for-profit business association to address issues of street homelessness, public drug use, an overdose crisis, and systemic cycles of poverty within our city? These are really huge challenges that require all sorts of government policies and coordination. And we believe there are ways for a DMO to leverage its position to effect change. How did we start down this path? The catalyst was an event and one individual, David LePage, the founder of Bisocial Canada, who in 2017 challenged us to consider social procurement for major congresses and trade shows. He came to my office with one simple challenge, was imagine if just 5% of procurement was from social enterprises, what that could do for Vancouver. And this is really where we started. So in 2017, Destination Vancouver engaged with social enterprises for the first time through the inaugural Social Procurement Roundtable, which was piloted at the Hopeful Economics Conference at SFU, one of our local universities. It was hosted by Bisocial Canada and led to the creation of Exchange Intercity, which is now a community economic development organization that is based in the Downtown East Side. As a legacy spin-off of the conference, they continue to manage this roundtable on a quarterly basis. The roundtable brings together social enterprises and institutional and larger organizations together to share stories, have procurement projects and partnerships that have impact in the communities served by social enterprises. It is an opportunity to build relationships and understand the stories of impact in our community where these enterprises operate. From this initial participation in 2017, Destination Vancouver began to pilot how to integrate social procurement into our own events. We started by transforming the tabletop centerpieces at Destination Vancouver's annual member holiday luncheon for over 800 people, showcasing social enterprises through products and information about each social enterprise and their mission, really creating that awareness. In 2021, Destination Vancouver commissioned Bisocial Canada to assess our procurement practices and help develop guidelines to formalize our corporate social procurement policy. This challenged us to look not only at our own procurement, but beyond corporate procurement to sector procurement in the city. And this wasn't part of on its own, it was really part of a broader movement. The City of Vancouver was developing a community benefit agreement requirements for large developments. In other sectors, we're seeing SAP and Chandos Construction leading social procurement in their sectors. The Social Purpose Institute was doing training through United Way Lower Mainland to help businesses define their purpose. The BC Social Procurement Initiative was also launched, bringing together local governments to develop social procurement practices and policies. Let me take just a small step back and review what we mean by social procurement. Every purchase has an economic, environmental, cultural, and social impact, whether we intend or not. Social procurement is about identifying and capturing those impacts and seeking to make intentional, positive contributions to both the local economy and the overall vibrancy of the community. By encouraging a shift towards procurement based on achieving multiple outcomes in addition to maximizing financial value. It means using procurement dollars to achieve overarching goals such as environmental and social sustainability. When we adopt a social procurement framework, we can seek to maximize the value you receive from your existing purchases. Social procurement has the potential to create meaningful change within organizations through the way that they source goods and services. It helps organizations to put purpose into practice and asks that their spending decisions consider positive social and community impacts alongside price, quality, and environmental factors. We're using a layered conceptual framework. Like an onion, we're working from the outside in. First, considering the locality of the business, where it is based, whether it's Canada, British Columbia, or here in Metro Vancouver. Does the ownership represent any equity-deserving groups? Is it women-owned, Black, Indigenous-owned, refugees, LGBTQ+, or is it owned by veterans? And what is the ownership structure? Is it a community benefit corporation, a cooperative, a certified social enterprise? And does it have a clearly defined social purpose? Vancouver, commissioned by Social Canada again to survey our members to create a report for tourism, hospitality, and events in our destination. The report provided the opportunity to learn more about our own membership and establish a baseline of social procurement activities in the Vancouver tourism sector, and to tell a more complete story of the positive impact of tourism in our community today. In the report, we identified that 67% of respondents indicated that they had implemented some sort of social procurement. However, respondents indicated that this isn't a consistent practice. Most often, social procurement isn't part of a mandate or clarified by a policy or framework, and only 18% of respondents to the survey currently track the dollar value of contracts spent in their social procurement practice. We were also able to identify businesses within our membership that were owned by one or more equity deserving groups, so we had a better understanding of our own membership after this survey. So our aspiration is to leverage social procurement in a coordinated way with all stakeholders in the sector to generate a collective impact that will advance specific value for a destination's economic and social equity challenges. Some of the things we're starting to track are the number of businesses actively implementing social procurement and identifying social value businesses within the tourism value chain. For example, our members, providing referrals and resources of social value businesses to event planners and guidance on how to integrate social procurement into the event value chain, building the capacity to report on stories of social value along with the collective financial impact from the sector in the destination. And is it replicable? We've developed a guide to social procurement for tourism, hospitality, and events in partnership with Social Canada. And this is specifically designed as an open source document, and we hope that you can download it, have a look, because we believe, like Ted says, it's an idea worth sharing. I'm hopeful your destination can join us on this journey, and thank you for giving me a little bit of time to tell this story.
Thank you, Gwendal. You'll probably see the recording, so thank you very much for sending us your recording, even though you couldn't join us live. Indeed, another great initiative, and yes, there is the link. We're going to share this presentation with you, so you can go ahead and download the guide. So once again, congratulations to all of the finalists and also all of the applicants, because I know that there were a lot more interesting and innovative projects, and hopefully you'll be inspired by some of them, and also start conversations in between the destinations. And while today we are here to celebrate our finalists, what's next? What's the future? We wanted to share that our upcoming certificate course together with ICA and CTDNA in regenerative destination management is starting on March 6th. Just a reminder, this is an online course comprising of 10 modules specifically designed for DMO and NTO professionals. We have various modules starting from introduction to regenerative destination management to tourism taxes, from DEI to impact and storytelling. It's quite a complete course for those who want to deep dive into regenerative thinking and destination management. And so if you have any questions, please reach out, and we'll be happy to share more information. And I think I have nothing else to say, but just to thank you for your time today, for your precious time. And we hope you've enjoyed the session. If you have any questions afterwards, please feel free to send them over. And I guess it's also safe to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, as I don't think I'll see you anytime soon before that. So thank you very much.